Hello everyone, welcome back to Stormworks Build and Rescue, and welcome back to part 3 of the hospital ship build. Last episode and the episode before, well, first episode we built the hull, and we got all of that stuff done. Then last episode we did the superstructure, and then also a internal staircase, which is turned out to be a pretty crucial part of it, because it took, if you'll remember, quite a while to figure out where everything should go to give us the most amount of like floor space inside the boat, and also to make it as usable as possible, and I think it's worked out quite well. If we imagine you're coming in from the little ramp up the steps up at the side, you come in and you have like a sort of reception area here where you can like check in, see what your injuries are, and then you'll have a wee waiting area over here, and then sort of minor consultation, or what, like, what's the word? I don't know the word, but like just a doctor's office that you would go into to get, like, if you have a cut or something, you would go in and get it sorted out. Then you come in here and you have the staircase. So the staircase leads you everywhere, well, all the different passenger levels of the ship. And then you'll also have an elevator which will go here, which is something we're going to be doing in this episode along with a few other things. So as you can see, we have a bit of a stability issue, and also the boat is very front heavy, so we're going to need to sort that out as well. So today we're going to add in our engines, and hopefully that'll help balance us out as well. So the engines and the fuel then as well, probably. Right, so let's get to work. First thing we need to do is just have a look in here to see everything's all right for the engines. Now, I do have engines in mind. I didn't build them. I use these engines a lot because they are pretty good. So, this is the engine. It is a 6-cylinder inline engine, but obviously it's not modular. I was going to do modular, but then I just sort of thought it's a lot easier to do it with this until modulars become a bit more sort of stable, because I know they fix some stuff, but they are still a bit temperamental. So I'd rather do it with something that I knew was gonna work and gonna be all right to use. So yeah, this is our engine, and this is built by a content creator called Mr. Pro Jills. And yeah, these are really good engines. So I'm going to put this in, and we're going to have 2 of these, and then we're also going to have another one, not another one of these, another engine that will go slightly further forward in the middle, and that will act as our sort of auxiliary generator. So if you'll remember in the first episode when I was going over everything, I said about having a generator that could be turned on and provide sort of emergency power to a country, or like, well, not a country, but a town. Say we have an island that has had like a tsunami or something wipe out its power station, then we can hook up the ship to where the power station would go, and it can provide power for the town then. So that's the idea. Whether or not that actually works is yet to be seen, but I really hope it does, because I think that'll be pretty cool. So you might have noticed there while I was doing that little monologue, we are having some issues here. The engines are quite big. Like, huge. Now, there is this bit of, like, sort of decoration at the end of the engine that we could get rid of, and I think we might have to. It does mean we kind of lose the nice prop shaft design there, but if we can fit the engine in, then it's worth it. The engine will also be raised up, so if we look in here, this is our deck level for here. So just cut a wee bit of that out and mark it there. So that's our deck level. So we want the engine to sit at that level. So we can have it that these little green things here are like the base of a stand, and then the stand kind of goes down into the floor, and it just means that the engine takes up less space, but gives us a nice look as well. Okay, I'm going to take that bit off and we'll see what we can do. So here it is, our slightly modified engine. Now you'll notice I've taken the base off this, because what I'm going to do is put the things that were originally on the base in the like deck level here, and then they'll come out through the hull, and we'll have pipes going up to the engine. So let's just cut this and move it over. We'll try and place it as close to in line with the prop shaft as we can. Now we do want to have access around both sides of these, because there are these little control panels here, and I think it'd be cool to be able to come down here if you wanted and operate them sort of manually. So we're going to try for that. Whether or not we can make it work, I don't know. Now, that doesn't quite line up, but maybe that's not such a bad thing. Could move it back a bit. I also need to think about gearboxes actually as well, because the gearboxes are freaking huge now. So if we have one of them on there, it's adding a bit to the engine, although it might look pretty cool. It does sort of fit the engine well. Yeah. Where does that pipe go? Because I can see a pipe going up there. Oh, that's alternators. I don't know where they actually go, but actually we could just connect them up to our... Oh, you know what actually we could do? We could just reroute the pipe. Let's do that instead. Because that way we can keep this at the same height and make the the gearbox look better. So if we measure the gearbox as there, the pipe needs to be, actually, do we want that down one so the gearbox sort of comes out as, yeah, that looks better. So pipe will then go where exactly? Okay, so instead of having a T-piece there, we're going to have a corner piece, and then instead of having a T-piece there, we will have one of these, I think. No, that's not quite right either. Basically like a cross, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Okay. So spin that around so that way is facing there, and then that faces out that way. Bada bing, bada boom. Gearbox. Lovely. Looks pretty good. Obviously we'll get rid of the green stuff on the floor. Okay, we're gonna cut and re-copy this so that we get our modifications in. We are going to get a wee bit of the floor in there, but we can delete that after. Now, these are going to be asymmetrical. Is that the word? Yes, it is. So, like the way a real engine would be, they're not going to be symmetrical. They're not going to be sort of two different engines, because that just wouldn't make any sense. Yeah, that looks good. So, as I was saying, this area here then will have a sort of auxiliary generator, and that will then provide a power hookup to shore, as well as providing power for the ship as well. So it kind of doubles up as both, whereas these will be solely for propulsion. Okay, so give you a few seconds just to see this and think about what I've done wrong here. Anyone got it? I didn't put in a clutch. So that was basically just a big waste of time then, because I don't have a clutch, so the engine won't work. And also, why is that going there? Oh, this just went fantastically. Oh, that's the engine. Right, okay. I was very confused there, but it turned out to be actually inside the engine. Let's try and get a better look at this, just to make sure I'm right. I think I am. Okay, something is inside an engine there. Or not, I just wasted my time there actually, because we didn't need that big thing that I put in. This one here did just work fine. Okay, right, now that that's sorted, and do it on this side as well. Now that that's sorted, we need to figure out a clutch then. I think we do definitely need to use the 5x5 gearboxes, because torque operates up to 20,000 torque. That one's only 4,000, and that's only 1,200. So I think 20,000 might be a bit overkill, but I think I'd rather have too much than too little torque. So how do we do this then? Because we can't put the gearbox in and then the clutch. It has to be clutch then gearbox. And we've kind of run out of hull, so that's unfortunate. We Can't really move it back any further either, but we're going to need to move that door as well. That door can't be there probably. This is a real predicament. See, it would be grand if we were using a smaller clutch, but I do think we do need the bigger one. You know what? Let me go and do a quick test with an electric motor and a torque meter and see how much power it outputs. So we might actually be able to get away from the 20,000 one and go down to the 4,200 one. So this one here, which, oh, 4,000 actually, not 4,200. You know what, we'll risk it. We'll have a go with it. I don't imagine us being able to break that. Like, we're not racing the boat, and it's not going to be running at high RPS. So hopefully it'll work all right. Okay, it's not the nicest setup, but it'll do. So we now have clutches, we now have gearboxes, we now have all that, and we do also have these generators here, so I don't need to put a generator in this line, which is what I would usually do. So that's pretty much the engine installed in terms of putting it in. Now we need to wire it up. So wire it up, we need all of these pipes exposed so we can tell where they're going. It's always handy to be able to tell where you're putting the pipes and not just put them in random places. And then we'll put one of them back in there because we don't need the whole space sort of out like that. We just want the bit where the pipe is, so we'll get another one of these and the same on this one, and then we'll get a bit of pipe and do the bottom. So now we need to cut out little areas here, and these will be our raw water intakes, so the coolant for the engine, which is just seawater in this case, will come in through here, and I assume there's some sort of radiator system in the engine. I can't remember, but I think there is. So I'll just grab a few of these fluid ports and stick them on there, and we're good as gold. Next up is our Heron Exhaust. So we've got 2 exhaust and 2 air coming out of both engines, and then we've got this little area in here which has enough room for all of them, luckily. So that should be good. Now we don't have much room around the back of the exhaust, or the back of the funnel there, because the funnel is going to come up here, so we might need to make some sort of ledge so you can walk around it. But we'll get to that when we're at this part of the ship. For now, we need to get the air and the fuel run up, so that's going to be not difficult, but not easy, because they aren't symmetrical, so you kind of have to make a different setup for each of them. Although we might incorporate air. I can't speak today. Because they're not symmetrical, you kind of have to make a different system for both of them, until they can meet at a point where you've made them symmetrical. So I'll probably do that and then kind of incorporate it into the floor here. So main engines are all plugged in, exhausts and air supply are in as well. I was going to put the exhausts underwater, but we may as well just put them out the roof. There is this new piece that came with the modular engines that I might try. So it's a catalytic converter. So basically it turns all this sort of emissions, it kind of captures some of the emissions like a filter, and then means it's not as smoky coming out of the top. Obviously these ones aren't really ready to test yet, so we're going to test them on a different boat and see if we want to add them in or not. So here we have our sort of test boat here. One engine has the catalytic converter, that one there, and then if we slow down again and turn that one off and turn on the other one that doesn't have one. Oh, didn't quite work. Try the other one that doesn't have one then. There's not a huge difference, I would say. Sort of. I think that them ones are, the one without is a bit sort of fuller, whereas the other one just kind of spread out the smoke. But I don't know, probably not worth our while installing it yet. Can test it better once the boat's all up and operational though. Okay, so with that experiment out of the way, we can get back to the engine room. So I'd said about having another engine in the middle here. So just going to browse through this. This one will be a fairly simple engine. So really all we're looking for here is a model. We don't need the kind of controller system that comes with the other ones. Now this one we could do modular if we wanted, if we have one here that's modular. This engine here looks pretty cool. Bit big for this boat, but that could be something to look at maybe. Let's have a look at something else. 5x5 engine, something like that. It doesn't seem to have any of the wiring done though. Which if we were using a modular one I would like to have, because I haven't a clue where to start with that. This engine here I've used before and it's quite nice. It's a nice model. I think we might use this one. Because it's fairly easy to wire up and plug in and all that kind of stuff. And then we'll just use probably Mr. N Jersey's controller that is like an auto generator controller. So yeah, I think we'll go with this one. So we're going to keep it raised off the ground a bit, and then have sort of the same setup as the other ones. And I suppose we'll use these wee things here as stands, like that. Maybe they look a bit weak, but we can reinforce them if we want. Add a few of these on each of them, like that. Yeah, that's much better. And then we'll paint the bottom as well, because we don't want it to be white like that. We want it to have a bit of detail to it. So this one will probably go out underneath the ship exhaust, and then the air will probably come from vents along the side, because these two here are very sort of full, pretty much. There's one possible path going up the middle that we could maybe use for air, but yeah, you know what, we'll do that. We'll run the air for that one up the engine, up the middle, and then we'll do the exhaust out the bottom. So let's have a look at these signs. Mechanical power comes out there. Okay, so that is where our generator will go. I'm actually thinking we could put a gearbox on there. I don't know how effective that will be, but if we can gear it down, actually it could even just act as a spacer really, because we don't need. We could just take away. Oh no, we need to take away a bit there because we need one of the biggest ones. So large generator. Oh, doesn't fit. Why? Oh, the ladder's still right. Okay, there we go. We'll just fill in where the ladder was with ordinary blocks, like that. There we go. And then we'll do some sort of support for that. So mechanical power is sorted. I think this is air, so it will be going to the thing in the roof if we do it that way. So we'll do that up to there. How do we do this then? Because it's right in at the back, the one that we need to get to. So it's going to have to come underneath all these ones. Try not to delete everything in the process. So we'll put in this corner piece there. And then like that. And then we'll just run that air pipe all the way up to the top. And out through the roof. Just stop a bit early there. Delete that. And delete above it. Okay, it might end up looking a bit weird. Oh no, I know what we can do. So now the exhaust or the air intake will be a bit further forward. So it's a small, well, it's not a smaller engine, it's the same size as all the other engines, but it's only one of them. So the need for a lot of air isn't as high. Okay, so air is in. And then we'll just connect the white pipe up to there. Like that. And then we'll get our corner piece. Might add some kind of detail to make that look a bit better, but for now that'll do. Okay, what next? Exhaust. Exhaust, as I said, will probably be going out the bottom. And the exhaust seems to come up through the middle by the looks of it. Oh no, that's fuel at the top. Odd place for fuel, I think. It's not what I would have expected. Okay, that's exhaust there, and that's also exhaust. Okay. So these black pipes here, we'll run them down to the floor then. And then that should just, yep, that goes out the bottom. And keeps the exhaust out of the way. The exhaust will just then come out underneath the ship and just dissipate that way. Like that. Could probably get rid of a lot of this weight, because a lot of that weight was put in at the start to counter how buoyant the ship was, but then it ended up being too much, and that's why this ship is sinking so much. So once everything's in, we're going to remove a lot of that weight. Okay, what else do we need? Coolant, maybe we'd need. I don't think so though, because I reckon it has a coolant radiator thing in here somewhere. Possibly, maybe not. Ah, no. So we do need coolant. So we'll paint the coolant the same colour as the engine, I suppose. And run one of them pipes down to the floor. And then get our vents. Actually, you know what, we may as well take a lot of this weight away now. We'll leave it at the very back, just as a kind of balancing point. But where the engines are is going to be heavy enough with them in, so get rid of a good lot of that. And then we'll have a chunk in the middle. And then up at the bow, we can get rid of a load of it as well, because it is very heavy up at the bow then because of the superstructure. So we can obviously add and take away as we go, just after testing stuff, but for now that'll do. So what next? I think that's all for that engine. Part of fuel, but we need to add the fuel tanks first. So this little space you see in here is just behind, or no, just in front of the engine room, and is at the very, very, very bottom of this crew staircase. So this will be the engine control room, and it will have a big window going across the front with a big panel with all the engine statistics and all stuff like that, and also possibly a secondary driving position, so that you can, like an emergency driving position if the top one gets damaged or something. Then at the back of the boat in here will be like a kind of workshop storeroom type thing for parts and stuff, which will have a staircase down into the engine room floor, and this will also be where power, I'm thinking we have like some sort of fold down area at the back that will be like an afterburner station, but also a power output place. I don't know, not quite sure yet, but we'll figure something out. So fuel tanks are going to be in here at the front. This is the staircase coming down, so it's kind of like a weird void spot. I think we'll just make a wall across there actually, and that way we avoid like a lack of balance in the fuel tanks, I suppose. And then we'll have our tunnel as well on the keel, so it'll be 5 by 4 maybe. That do 5 by 4 should be fine, or 3 by, we'll just do 3 by 3 for now, and it'll run the whole length of the boat. So we'll put that in first, and that will lead all the way up to the bow thruster room. So if they need to do maintenance on the bow thruster, they can go up and do that. Maybe it should be taller, so that you can, like, I don't know, have hatches and stuff. Although actually if it's wider, then we could do that the same way. So we'll make it 1 block wider on each side, and then have the hatches on their side. Okay, so that'll lead all the way to the front, and we'll have stuff in it, I'm sure, like little features that you can go and see, hopefully. And then it'll lead back into here. So fuel will have to come underneath the floor, so that one requires 2 fuel pipes, that one requires 2 fuel pipes, and that requires 1 to go up to the roof, or up high at least. Don't know how we're going to do that one. No, it seems like a weird place for the fuel to come in. Maybe not, I don't know. Okay, we'll start with this one, because this is going to be the more difficult one, I think. We'll do our fuel pipes in this kind of red so that people can kind of identify them as being fuel. Even though diesel isn't red, so maybe that's not a... maybe it's not a great indicator. Unless of course it's red diesel. So we'll then have pipes that will go down and lead into the main pipes that go back. So the ship is spawned in. I've added all the different things in, but she is super heavy. Now, just going to make sure that there's no flooding. That's what it is. There's flooding inside. You know what I just remembered? This engine has a decorative fluid spawner. Now this engine's pretty old, so that's from the times where there was like a no fill option on a fuel spawner, but now it's this dial and it's set to fill, so forgot to turn that off. Okay, hopefully this time we won't sink. Fingers crossed. Looking good so far. We're still listing heavily, but we are more buoyant than we were. Okay, let's actually, we seem to have balanced out there actually, which is good. So let's take the stairs down to the engine control room. I've just remembered I don't have a door actually into the engine room, so this is kind of pointless as we're going to need no clip anyway, but you get the idea. So this will be where our engine control room is, and now we're in our engine room. So big engines, 3 big engines. Got our generator there, and then we have our keel tunnel, and we've got the fuel tanks on the other side. So fuel tanks are now in. They're under this floor and take up like a kind of this mid section of the boat. Then in front of them will be a jet fuel tank that will supply the helicopter, and then at the very front probably just a void, just to save weight and stuff. Let's see, it's just no clip through. Okay, so back at this engine, all the pipes are in. The fuel is running up over the roof, or over the engine instead of the roof, and then is going over to here. And I'm thinking going to do the same with that white pipe, so it just goes straight across, and then the fuel pipe goes down. You can't see it here because of the different colors of the wall, but it goes down and then in, and then the same way with these ones here, comes through these little void spaces. I don't know what to do with them void spaces yet, and then into the fluid ports into the fuel tank. But yeah, pretty good progress for now. And I think next we'll start and lay out the engine room and lay out all the different floors and stuff. And just like that, we have our engine room kind of laid out. So obviously still a lot more detail to go in, but we've got our kind of catwalks and stuff like that, and we've also got the windows for our engine control room. So along here will be a big control panel where you can monitor everything, and as I said earlier, possibly a second helm position so that you have like a screen or something that has a camera facing forward. That would be like an emergency backup if you damage the one up top. And also in here will be a load of storage stuff for repair and emergency and firefighting equipment, because obviously if there's a fire in the engine you want to deal with it fairly quickly. With that, along with the fuel tanks, these engines should run. They're all hooked up, and we will test that now. But the ship is rather heavy, so you'll notice this as soon as I spawn it in. She floats like a literal brick. In fact, there's probably bricks that float better. So that blue line there is our water line, and yeah, it's like a good meter or two underwater, which is not good. Boat looks like it's sinking, which then kind of brings me to a bit of a question I have. Do you think we should redesign the hull? Now, I know this is fairly late in the build to be deciding this, but we can still keep a few things. And if we redesign the hull, I'd do it completely off. It would just basically be picking up from where we are now, and just having a new hull. But yeah, I'm definitely considering doing that just to keep stuff more buoyant, I suppose. So let's see if our engine works. It does. Perfect. So got the catwalks going across all the pipes and stuff, and because they're asymmetrical, I like this little touch here one of them's only for the engine, and then the other one goes all the way around the engine so that you can get to this control panel here. But both engines are running. That one I can't test yet because I don't have any system in for it, but it'll also be automatic anyway, so probably won't be tested until we run the battery down a bit. So let's just go in here and have a look around. So this is a big enough space. You'll have a look in to there from in here, and then also it should mean that all your stuff behind here, like if you have a fire in the engine, the wall should give you a bit of protection while you kind of get ready to fight it. I think that's good enough for today's episode. Obviously we need to sort this out as a matter of priority, like it is completely sinking, which isn't good at all. So yeah, I am going to try a few different designs, try moving about stuff a bit. It could be that next week we come back with a completely different ship, but we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, until then, hope you enjoyed, and let me know what you think down below about that plan. Let me know what you think about the ship in general. And until next week, see you later. Bye bye.